Welcome back, everybody. Does your vehicle have a bad alternator? If so, then stay tuned because today we are going to change out the alternator on my Highlander. So what I got going on is I have the original alternator on my Highlander and it's actually overcharging. That was like that high-pitched whistling noise you heard. Also, when you run the engine, there's a slight smell of burning plastic coming from the alternator. Now, obviously you guys can't smell it, but let me tell you, it's not pleasant. So the first thing you'll want to do is write down all your radio settings. Then disconnect the battery. Now in this case, I'm going to go ahead and do both of them since we are working with the alternator. I know there are some guys that only do the negative battery terminal, but since we're going to be taking out the alternator, I personally would just feel better having them both disconnected. And there we go. Next, we got to get this drive belt off the alternator. And for this particular motor, right down here, where my index finger is pointing, is the belt tensioner. So, this is a 19 millimeter socket. We'll go ahead and take a breaker bar, put it on the belt tensioner, and then just gently pull this forward. Remember, be gentle with it, be patient, and then when the belt starts to come loose, you can just pull it. It might fight you a little bit, but when the belt comes loose. And here we go, the drive belt is off the alternator, and boy did it fight me. So now that that's done, we can go ahead and start disconnecting it. There's a little plug right here that comes undone, and then just this side of the engine oil dipstick, there's a connection here that comes undone with a 10 millimeter bolt. Here we go. So there's a connection here that's held in by a 10 millimeter bolt. We'll just go ahead and remove it. Back. There we go. Okay, guess I had it tightening. Okay, so here's the nut. We'll go ahead and just keep this somewhere safe. And then we will go ahead and disconnect these two oxygen sensors just to get them out of the way. There we go. Then there's a little bracket that holds this wiring harness on. Pull that out. And here we go. Also, one thing I forgot to mention, when you disconnect the ground from your alternator, make sure it stays covered by the little hood that's attached to the wire This way it's protected from touching any other metal components in the engine and grounding out. Now we are ready to pull the alternator out of the vehicle. For this particular car, or for this particular SUV I should say, there is a 14 millimeter bolt right here, and then kind of hidden underneath the alternator is another 14 millimeter bolt. So we'll just go ahead and start loosening them up. All right, so here's the top one, and then because the car engineers decided to be car engineers, the one at the bottom is actually a 12 millimeter bolt. So we'll go ahead and switch our socket. Here we go. And then just kind of feel around down there. There we go. And then luckily this one is easy enough to where you can just loosen it and then pull it out by hand. And here is the other one. Then just go ahead and pull it out. Alright, might have to get like a pry bar or something. Actually, nope, here it comes. And here we go. All right, so now to do some comparison. Here's the old one. Here is the new one. So now we just got to put the new one in and do the exact opposite of everything we just did. But we are going to pick this up in the morning because it's getting dark. All right, good morning, everybody. Now to finish what we have started. I also went ahead and disconnected the AC compressor just to move this whole wiring harness out of the way so we have a little bit more room to work with getting the new alternator back in. Alright, and then just get this belt back on, check all the pulleys, make sure the belt is properly placed on them, and in this case I think they are, or in this case I think it is, I should say. So we'll go ahead and tighten the tensioner, and then since the people who designed this Highlander give you very little room to adjust anything, you gotta kind of battle to get this breaker bar out. Alright, so the alternator is pretty much in. Now we go ahead and reconnect everything. And something that's kind of nice, this new alternator comes with a brand new nut for the cable that goes here. Alright, so first we'll go ahead and plug the cable back in. There we go. Then we will go ahead and reconnect the grounding cable. Take our nut, it's just a 10mm nut, place it on, and then just tighten it. And then put that little cap back on. Then we'll go ahead and place this little bracket for the two oxygen sensors back on. And I'm going to go get an extension real quick. I'll be right back. Okay, so now to put this bracket back on. Go. And now to reconnect the AC compressor, there we go. And now the two oxygen sensors that go here. There we go. And now to reconnect the battery. Then just make sure the covers are properly placed on the alternator connections. And now the moment of truth. And perfect. No more high-pitched whistling, no more burning plastic smell. We are good to go. And then for those of you watching for a first generation Highlander, if you really want to do it right, Toyota has this wiring harness going down to the AC compressor, electrical tape to a tab coming off of the alternator. So just if you really want to do it right and get it back to OEM specifications, just to clean up your wiring a little bit. And now to take my old alternator back to the store so I can get my $40 core charge back. Alright, so $40. Now they can take that old alternator, fix it, and soon enough it might be in another Highlander. I will just say this though, strictly talking to Toyota owners. In my experience, it seems like around 150,000 miles is when the alternator tends to go out. It doesn't matter how old the car is time-wise. Your car could be 25 years old and your grandma was the original owner, or your car could be 8 years old and you do a lot of driving. Around 150,000 miles, that's when the alternator tends to go out. I've only seen 2 exceptions to that. The first were a couple of Toyota Sienna shuttle vans from when I worked at the dealership, but by the time those 2 vans reached 150,000 miles, they were only like 2 years old. So they were having other problems due to the driving and the lack of maintenance, but the alternators didn't go out. Also, my 2001 Toyota Corolla. Almost 167,000 miles and still running on the original alternator. Now, obviously, I'm not going to fix something that isn't broken, but I am kind of like, okay. Also, I was talking to my friend about this. He's got a 2004 Toyota Camry with 240,000 miles on it, and he was saying he's still on the original alternator. So, I'm probably going to get mixed feedback on this one, but if you own a Toyota, what do you think? Because my Highlander, 147, so close enough. And don't forget, new videos every Sunday. Make sure you hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Also, make sure you hit that bell so you never miss a video. And I will see you guys next week.